I'll sleep when I'm dead, a quote many of us live by, but especially us college students. People tend to lose out on sleep for a different variety of reasons, whether it be school, work, family and friend commitments, or even to just binge watch a TV series. Getting a sufficient amount of sleep is important for people of all ages to lead a healthy lifestyle. However, we tend to take sleep for granted. For instance, have you ever stopped to think about other reasons why people aren't getting sufficient amounts of sleep? Well, poverty plays a huge role in sleep deprivation, which in turn leads to a less healthy lifestyle. Sleep deprivation is also associated with an increased risk of chronic diseases such as diabetes, depression, and obesity, to name just a few. My name is Brianna, and I'm going to talk about the problem of sleep disparity in lower income sectors, the causes, and a possible solution to this widespread imbalance in our society. So what is the problem between sleep and poverty? Lower socioeconomic groups are most exposed to a higher risk of poorer health outcomes, such as an increased lack of sleep. The sleep disparity cycle starts with childhood and adolescence, where this is first picked up. As stated in the article, The Sleep Gap in America, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention decided to take a look at how poverty affects sleep. And according to their table, 33.6% of household incomes below the poverty threshold sleep less than 7 hours a night. Furthermore, this article also states that many labs across the U.S. and abroad have linked poor sleep to compromised cognitive processing, lower academic achievements, and maladaptive school behaviors. It is sad that these kids from low socioeconomic sectors are struggling to not only maintain a good sleep schedule, but also keep up with their peers in school. This lack of sleep is starting from a young age brings an almost unbreakable cycle, because these kids are stuck with the disadvantage of not getting adequate sleep, which makes it harder for them to escape their economic status. Just like expressed in the U.S. News article by Lisa Esposito, if a child is exposed to constant stress in childhood, essentially their stress mechanism is never turned off. Moving on to why this problem occurs between sleep and poverty. Let's start with the most obvious cause, which has to be that impoverished people are working multiple jobs and they simply do not have the time to get the adequate amount of sleep that is suggested for a good night's rest. Furthermore, when they finally do get the chance to get to bed, they are often sleeping in crammed, uncomfortable spaces, versus when a wealthy person comes home from a long day of work, they get to come home and sleep on their comfy and clean bed. In the research article, Relationships Between Housing, Food Insecurity, and Insufficient Sleep, written by Young Glue, MD, she states that poor housing conditions also are related to poor sleeping conditions. Poor housing conditions raise up concerns whether it be extreme noise levels, one's personal safety, or issues with heating and air conditioning. Could you imagine not being able to get the sufficient amount of sleep because of troubles of heating and air conditioning? Have you ever had to sleep through the night because the AC stopped working on a hot summer day? Imagine having to do that day after day after day. Your sleep schedule will be all out of whack. Another reason why poverty causes sleep deprivation is because people with lower income face a higher amount of stress in their day-to-day lives. These high amounts of stress cause people to sleep with more disruptions during the night. In addition, due to the high amount of the corticotropin hormone being released, the stages of slow wave sleep and rapid eye movements, also known as REM sleep, can be diminished and therefore ruin your chances of a good night's sleep. The less REM you attain, the more your memory, decision-making, and mood all suffer, in turn making you less adapt to coping with poverty stress. Again, the Sleep Gap in America article reiterates another cause for sleep disparity, which relates to food. With lower incomes comes lower purchasing power, which comes lower quality of food. These people are stuck eating overly sugary junk foods, which are terrible for good sleeping patterns. So, how do we fix or begin to fix these problems? Of course, it would be naive to think that just telling people about healthy sleeping habits would be enough to fix this problem. However, we must start considering sleep as an essential to survival, just as food and water. However, a possible solution to this link between poverty and sleep would be to get policymakers to raise awareness. This seems pretty feasible because policymakers have done it in the past with Project Head Start. With Project Head Start, they were able to recognize the importance of early education, and it became one of the most important anti-poverty programs in the United States. Making advancements won't be easy, as we have seen with the continued efforts in improving exercise habits. Nonetheless, in this case, something is better than nothing, and starting to bring awareness is a step in the right direction. In conclusion, sleep is not for the weak, as some suggest. Getting an adequate amount of sleep is vital to living a healthy lifestyle. It is in our best interest as a society to bring awareness to the sleep disparity in low socioeconomic sectors, as an increased amount of sleep would lead to an increased overall health and an overall healthier country.